Chapter 13. Without another word, she grabbed her phone and sank into her couch, opening up the web browser to begin her search. She knew Aiden was wearing his beanie for one reason or another, so she would start with that. She typed in creatures with strange ears, and the results came through almost instantly. There were 6 possible answers: elves, fairies, pixies, hobbits, vampires, or orcs. Sierra quickly memorized the list and cleared the search bar. Aiden had said he wasn't an elf, and for some reason, she was inclined to believe him. So she searched fairies first, scanning through the first few web pages in the results. Fairies had a human appearance, except for their ears, so that was a definite contender. Pixies were similar to fairies, except they were often depicted as smaller than humans. While she wanted to eliminate them, she kept them in mind because their mischievous nature did sound a bit like Aiden, especially based on the very recent developments within her apartment. She quickly eliminated hobbits, vampires, and orcs, mostly because Aiden didn't have what seemed to be the basic characteristics. Sierra looked up from her phone and looked around the room. Although she couldn't see him, she had a feeling he was still hanging around. So, fairy or pixie? Which is it? In an instant, Aiden materialized on the couch next to her. Sierra might have been startled under any other circumstances, but after the events of the past hour, nothing he could do would surprise her right now. Aiden sighed and leaned back.
No one calls us fairies anymore. We are just known as the Fae.
Now, Sierra had been expecting some big confession to come out, but hearing the words come out of his mouth wasn't the same as theorizing in her head, and she suddenly found herself not knowing what to say. Fae. The word came out of her more as a gasp, but Aiden could hear her.
Yes?
Her heart was pounding in her chest. So, you're really... Her thoughts were one big jumble, but she touched her hand to her forehead, pinching her eyes shut as she tried to come to terms with the realization that Aiden wasn't human.
Yes.
Aiden repeated, removing his beanie with his left hand. As soon as it was off his head, Sierra could see his pointed ears poking through his long brown hair. Sierra reached up as if to touch them, but before her hand reached his ears, she realized how rude it was to touch someone without their permission and yanked her hand back.
It's okay.
He lifted his chin in the direction of her hand.
I don't mind if you touch my ears.
Sierra nodded, but kept her hand in place, trying to think of what to ask next. So, Faye... Aiden let out a short chuckle.
Yes, we've covered that.
Sierra tried to swallow, her throat feeling dry. I want to ask some things, but my throat is dry. Do you want water? She stood up and walked to the kitchen. Wait, can you even drink water? For the second time in the last few minutes, Aiden laughed, a new record in Sierra's eyes.
Yes, I can drink water. Humans always say the darndest things.
Sierra grabbed 2 glasses out of the cupboard, filling them with water from the tap before walking back to the couch and handing one to Aiden. She folded her legs beneath her, situating herself so she was facing him. So, do you eat food too?
Of course. Food in our land is a bit different, but we can eat human food all the same.
And can humans eat your food? Sierra asked, thinking of one of the articles she had skimmed which said humans who ate fairy food would be trapped in fairyland.
Yes. I'm not sure where the rumor came from that humans couldn't. Our food is different, but it won't enchant or trap you.
Ah, okay. Sierra sipped her water, her heart racing as Aiden took a sip of his. And can you do magic? He nodded.
Sort of. You already saw that I can shift myself to other places, and I can also make it so you cannot see me. I think it's a defense mechanism, as most Fae can do it. I'm better at shifting location than most of my kind, though. Many of us can also use compulsion, which you saw last night in the library. And there are those who have special and more unique powers.
Sierra thought back to the drunk student who had been so intent on dragging her out of the library and how he had suddenly done everything Aoden had said. She tried to think if there was any situation when Aoden might have used compulsion on her, but she couldn't remember doing anything she hadn't wanted just because he had said to. Still aghast and unsure what to even ask, she decided to see what information he would offer of his own accord. Anything else I should know? Aoden let out a breath.
Many believe that the Fae were an early race of humans, and most of my kind believe the same. But over the past few centuries, many have come to the human world and married humans, and some have even brought their partners back to the hills. As a result, many of us don't have very strong magic anymore. That's what makes my abilities unique.
Sierra raised her eyebrows. The hills?
My people, besides being called Fae, are often referred to as the She, which is Gaelic for people of the hills. What they don't know is that the word actually comes from the name of my world, which has been called She for hundreds of years. When I refer to my home in your language, I just call it the hills, to make things easier.
Sierra nodded. And back to the powers thing, how do those work? Sierra knew she should be feeling some form of shock right now at all these revelations, but honestly, she had spent most of the day mentally preparing for him to be a vampire or some other sort of blood-sucking beast, so this Fae discovery didn't seem so bad.
I can sense emotions, but I've heard that many generations before me, my gift, or powers as you call it, was to be able to influence and change emotions as well.
Sierra tilted her head to the side, somewhat in disbelief that they were having this conversation. I'm a little confused. So, for people who had your gift in the past, it was different? He took a sip of his water.
Yes, our magic tends to manifest in very specific ways, and it is often passed through family lines. For example, if your mother is good at healing, you likely will be too.
Ah, I see. So, your parents are both good at feeling emotions? Aiden shook his head.
Just my mother, and she, like me, can only feel them but not change them. Her mother, my grandmother, reportedly could change the feelings of an entire army and convince entire kingdoms to surrender during her lifetime.
Interesting. Sierra drained her glass and set it on the side table. And your father has no gift or magic? Aiden continued.
My father's family is from a line that could once control the weather. But, like most lines, intermarrying has weakened the magic. Now my father can just sense the weather.
But you can't, Sierra asked. He shook his head.
No, Fae can sometimes receive both of their parents' magic, especially if the bloodlines are strong. But my father's line is so weak that both my sister and I only received magic from our mother.
That's sad. Aoden brought his eyes to meet hers, and she could see something, maybe pain, reflected in their depths.
It is.
Sierra thought back to the things she had read. Can Fae tell lies?
No, but it's interesting that as the bloodlines of magic have grown weaker, our ability to avoid the truth or to deflect questions has increased. But we cannot outright lie. It's one of the main things that sets us apart from humans.
And what about the dangers of making deals with the Fae?
Somewhat true. Because we live so long and we cannot lie, the word of a Fae means a lot and is considered binding law in She.
Sierra looked confused, so Aoden continued.
No, we can't trick you into crazy things like in the stories. But never make a bargain with a Fae you don't intend to keep, because we will force you to follow through. And while some Fae have become more modern over the years, there are many who will kill a human for backing out of a bargain.
Sierra was digesting everything he said, and her mind caught on his mention of their lifespans. So, how long do you live?
A long time.
Sierra raised an eyebrow as Aiden went on.
We age about 5 times as slow as humans, meaning an average lifespan is 400, 500 years. But we also aren't afflicted by as many diseases or illnesses as you are. So it's possible to meet Fae that are 800 or 900 years old, though they are often feeling their age at that point.
So, I'll ask you again. How old are you? The corner of his mouth twitched in a way she now knew meant he was fighting a smile.
I didn't lie to you. Fae don't track our ages the way you do. We are only either immature, which is any Fae who hasn't been alive for what is about their 50th human year yet. Once you pass your 50th year, you are a mature Fae, or an adult. You remain an adult unless you pass something around your 500th year. Then you become an older Fae, or an elder. But we don't really track years. It's more how you look and feel. An immature Fae looks like a human kid or teen until sometime around their 50th year. Then they look the same till around their 500th year, when they begin to show age, such as grey hair.
He ran his right hand through his hair.
You humans are always so obsessed with age, so when we visit your realms, as I have, we usually choose a human age to align ourselves with, based on our expected lifespan. So, I align myself with 25, because I feel I'm about a quarter of the way through my expected life of 500 years.
Sierra quickly did the math. So, you're close to 125 years old?
Again with accounting. But if we're keeping track, I'm sure it would be somewhere around there, yes.
Interesting. Sierra replied, thinking of how nice it would be if humans weren't so obsessed with age and instead focused on how old they felt. She then ran over what she had read online one final time, but found he had answered most of her questions. In fact, she only had one left. Why did you come here? Aiden looked toward her dark TV briefly before meeting her eyes once more.
I came to study. I wasn't lying when I said I was studying history.
Sierra narrowed her eyes. Something about the way he said it didn't sound right, and she suspected he was deflecting, as he had mentioned earlier. Are you studying at the university? A full smile spread across Aiden's face.
You are really smart for a human.
He leaned toward her.
I came here on a personal study to try and figure out why Fae magic is weakening and see if there is anything that can be done to preserve our race. While intermarrying is part of our magic weakening, the pace of the weakening has begun to accelerate. And I suspect it is something more than just genetics thinning the magic in our blood.
Sierra couldn't hide the look of surprise on her face. And you can find that out in Dublin?
Yes. You have some of our ancient texts here, but you act like they're the Holy Grail or something. So I often have to wait for the one I want to see to be on display, or sneak around after hours.
Sierra laughed, thinking of all the times she had been looking for Aiden in the library and had been unable to find him anywhere. I knew you were up to something suspicious at the library. To her surprise, Aiden smiled back, marking perhaps the first real smile she had seen on his face. Something in her wished she could take a picture to save the moment, but she quickly brushed off the intrusive thought.
Of course, the humans who work in the library are often very bright, and that has caused me to be here longer than expected.
Aiden elaborated. Sierra thought back to when she had first seen Aiden on Tinder. How long is that?
Almost a year now.
Oh, wow. And you just now decided to get a job at the library? She joked. The smile fell from his face.
I wanted to try things the right way first, But then when I realized how difficult it was to get around the librarians, I knew I would have to figure out another route.
He leaned toward her.
It's partly because of you, you know. I never thought of getting a job at all until I met you. And you mentioned you worked at the library.
Sierra rolled her eyes. If you get caught sneaking around at some point, please don't spread around the fact that I inspired your crime spree. That will truly ruin my reputation. She was joking. It wasn't like she had a reputation in Dublin to ruin in the first place, and her reputation in America was already non-existent.
Don't worry.
Aidan said, brushing his hand lightly across her cheek.
Your secret is safe with me.
The words hung in the air between them, and Sierra knew he meant that in more ways than one. Suddenly, she remembered she had one more question she had been wanting to ask him. So, why Tinder? And why did you kiss me outside of the pizza place? Aidan broke eye contact to look away, hanging his head slightly.
I joined Tinder because, well, I was lonely. And I wanted to look for someone.
He trailed off, grimacing at something he left unsaid.
With the kiss, I don't really know how to say this, but I like you, Sarah. Not just like I feel drawn to you for reasons I can't explain. I know I didn't go about courting you the right way, and I feel bad about it. But I would like it if you would give me another chance.
Sierra tapped her chin with her finger, a mischievous look on her face. The past 24 hours had made her realize that while she had been angry at Aoden and annoyed these past few weeks, she hadn't really hated him. And the reality was, she hadn't thought of him as her enemy since the day she had seen him at the pub the week before. She had already decided during this conversation to give him another chance, but he didn't know that. Another chance, you say? She kept her face straight, but internally, she was laughing at the fact that he had actually used the word courting in a sentence. He really was from another realm. She'd forgotten, however, that Aoden was able to feel her emotions because a smile spread across his face as he said,
You're feeling pretty proud of yourself, as well as a sense of resolve. So I'm guessing that means you have decided to give me another chance?
She nodded. I have, but listen, honesty is really important to me, so if we are going to give this, she motioned between them with her finger, another try, you have to be honest with me. He set his hand on her forearm.
Sierra, I promise you, I cannot lie. And going forward, I won't attempt to obscure the truth from you in any way, okay?
She smiled, setting her hand on his. Thank you. She glanced down at her phone, noticing it was almost midnight. It's getting pretty late, and I have another seminar tomorrow, but I don't work at the library, so maybe we could have that coffee afterward? Start over with the date you were late for? She rose from the couch, and he followed, reminding Sierra of their height difference as he towered over her.
I'd like that.
He smiled.
And I promise I will arrive on time, okay?
Sierra laughed as she led him to the door, even though she was pretty sure he could just shift himself out of the room if he wanted. Just before he exited, he turned to brush a strand of her hair behind her ear, leaning in to kiss her cheek.
Until tomorrow, Sierra.
Sierra grinned like an idiot, watching as he walked down the hall towards the stairs. She didn't close the door until he was completely out of sight, unable to stop smiling at the memory of his kiss.